Hello everybody, it is your host, and today, welcome back to Fireside Reviews. We're going to be doing The Crimes of Grindelwald. I hope you guys enjoy. Welcome to the booth.
Alright, we're back again with another video. My name is Josh. We're back again with some other people that we all know. Ethan, Owen, Sam Dixon.
Conrad.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Today we're going to be doing Crimes of Grindelwald, and it should be pretty good.
Let's roll the clip.
Yeah.
Bunty!
Oh, this one. Okay.
I like this scene.
Bunty!
Oh, is this in his basement?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What are those little guys? Nifflers?
Yeah, the
Bunty,
baby
the baby
nippers.
nippers.
They're so cute.
They are.
That deer thing's weird.
It's cool though.
Yeah.
Oh, that thing is cool though. I like
Yeah.
that thing. It's very Scottish.
Yeah.
It's like more Scottish than a Scottish elk.
The CGI is top notch, and I like the
It is.
design of the whole set thing.
It's almost as good as Star Wars.
It's very MC Escher in some
Yeah,
ways, you know,
I
where,
like it.
where the reality is
Where you,
not reality.
where you have like staircases on the side, they go like upside down.
Yeah.
I love Newt's whole setup that he can do where he like expands spaces that aren't meant to be expanded. It makes the entire thing feel very...
It's just a giant eyeball.
It's a giant eyeball.
Oh no, those
It's a furry
are.
eyeball?
What are they called? They're like. What are they called?
Flying eyeballs.
I know what
Yeah,
they are. They're not
essentially, I guess.
flying eyeballs. They're
This thing I like.
Oh, the...
Yeah.
What do they call it? Is
it's
it
a kelpie.
It's kelpie? Yeah,
Because it
because it's
looks
made of like
like-
kelp.
It's also
Yeah.
Scottish.
You know the
I
cup is
believe.
easier with two.
What are those things' names? That's gonna bug me.
The flying things? The flying eyeballs?
Yeah, they're not.
Perhaps you
They're
should take
just.
off
They're
your
little
shirt.
like lamb things. I know it has something to do with.
Oh, so there's
moonlight.
more
It's
of
a
it
moon
than
calf.
what we were
It's a
seeing?
moon calf.
Moon calf. That's what it is.
Yeah. You don't see the whole thing. There's something else.
So, is there a magical thing that allows him to create this big, giant, vast place?
Yeah.
It's
In
the
his
same thing that
basement?
Hermione used to extend her handbag, but on a much larger and more skilled scale.
My like thinking is it's probably something like in Marvel, where it's like a different dimension type thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's actually real. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's the undetectable
just-
extension charm.
yeah.
Which is what Hermione used on her handbag.
Or just an extension charm. It doesn't really need to be undetectable.
Right.
Wish you could really have one of those
That would be, yeah.
bags where you can just stuff everything you want in
That'd be
there.
awesome.
Someone needed
It's like Santa Claus in the movie. His bag.
Yeah.
Payment, Bunty!
I wonder how much of the set is like practical and how much of it is CGI.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sure
I-
a fair bit of it is CGI.
Well,
Yeah.
they made the entire like basement area. I saw the special features of it. They
Well, yeah.
made the whole thing. Like obviously, all the creatures are
CGI.
CGI, and oftentimes they didn't even have any like sort of prop to represent them. They just kind of
The actors just
put
kind of
them
went
in.
with it, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And they were saying how weird it was to just be
Um,
interacting with CGI things all day because they just had to imagine it was there.
Right.
Right. I mean, I
Hey,
don't
look.
think it.
Look, there it is.
I don't think it can really be as bad as like Jurassic World though. Like when you compare it to it, because like all the raptors and stuff being like just a head on like a green screen body.
But it helps them like be able to at least know
Right.
where they're looking,
Right.
like it, so that they can kind of see what they're working with.
Well, it's kind of a testament to the skill of the actors in this, that they
Right.
can make it seem like their interactions with these creatures are real.
Right.
One thing about this scene that I thought when I watched this movie for the first time was like, yeah, this is all cool. It looks awesome. I'm super happy that they're throwing in more of these creatures. But, you know, as we were continuing to watch the film, I was waiting for them to come back, for them to
Right.
do something and be relevant to the
Actually
story. Because in the
apply.
first movie, one thing that I loved was that all of the creatures like had this role that they played in the storyline, and like Newt's interactions with them were important in developing his character and everything. And in this, I got the feeling that it was like the creatures were almost too much of an aside.
I mean, they
They
definitely
weren't part of Newt's main story in this film,
Right.
which is one thing that I wasn't a huge
applied,
fan.
and I'm really hoping that they're gonna bring them into the next ones. But like, we did see more of the Niffler, which
Yeah.
was good, and he definitely helped a lot in the plot.
And the
by-
bow truckle was there as well,
Yep.
the little
Yes.
green guy.
It helped them as well get out of Kama's place.
I
I think that's his name.
I did like the dragon though.
The
Like
dragon was
Chinese
cool.
dragon.
That was
They're-
the
that was
only
very
one that
cool.
they.
that one,
Yeah.
that one actually.
We're gonna get to
applied.
see
Yeah.
that clip.
Yeah.
I want to see that clip. I want
The
I want one
super-
of
I like the little
I want
toy
one
that
of
he
those
used to
as a
calm it
pet.
down too.
Yeah, and like I loved when he goes. I can't remember if it's in his suitcase or if he takes him somewhere else, but he has that whole like mountain setup, where it's like the actual
think that's in his
mountains of
suitcase.
I don't know
Yeah,
where
that
is
was in the
Tibet,
suitcase.
Nepal.
Yeah.
but it looks so cool. Like,
It does.
Just the way he
It
has
looks
it all set up.
near perfect in terms of like CGI.
Right.
It was a very cool thing.
You know, your comment about the animals like coming back and stuff. I do think that that's an intriguing thing about this movie is whether or not what is his role here. He kind of sees himself as like almost like a zookeeper, a protector of these animals.
Right.
But at the same time, we kind of get this hint that he's
More
been
than-
working for Dumbledore, and he's kind of Dumbledore's spy.
Right.
Right, he's like
agent.
moving beyond.
And
He
what
seems
about-
reluctant to do
what
so.
what is his role? And I suppose that's part of like the character development here.
Yeah.
Right.
As we see him, you know, he enters the ministry, and they're like, "We're going to give you an option," and he's like, "No, thank you," and off he goes. Right.
Yeah.
But I think that that's really interesting to me that he's got this like passion for animals, but yet he's also got this other like secret like double agent kind of like.
Right. And I think that just
spy.
adds to the development of his character, which then comes out more in the end of this movie.
Well,
I
and
feel
his-
like it's going to end up being, because now we have the Phoenix, which we can assume is Fox, but we don't know for sure. But I feel like he's going to somehow, like, get it away from them, because having a Phoenix is definitely a positive thing for them,
Yeah.
and you don't want your opponents to have a Phoenix, so he might be able to maybe, like, I don't know, tame it or something.
That would be
And
sick
maybe
if that
that's
was
like his,
Fox.
like-
get it for Dumbledore.
Dumbledore, like his mission from Dumbledore to get Fox.
But of course, this also implies that question of like, I forget the kid's name there. Credence. Is Credence really his
A
brother?
Oh yeah, there's
Dumbledore's
that whole thing. I don't know if we're gonna
brother?
get to that later in the clips or whatever, but yeah, that's such a weird
Like,
scene.
I know
Yeah.
that that's like hugely controversial among
Yeah.
nerddom as to like what
Right.
was the deal.
I don't
with
know
that
if
scene.
Grindelwald is telling him something that's not true,
And
or
then-
if it's
I mean, Grindelwald, you can't put it past him to like totally make that up. Like,
right.
Yeah.
There's
But
no
the
reason that he
Phoenix-
wouldn't.
And
Well, but
then-
even still,
yeah.
though.
But there's also, I mean, there's that video online where they explain what it's about. I don't know if I can say that copyright.
Probably,
But-
probably can. We just have to give like
Yeah,
Yeah.
but in Super Carlin Brothers, they explained that a bit about
could-
what they think is going on.
We
there.
could probably put a link on the YouTube thing down below down there.
yeah, the
right?
description down
Yeah.
below.
Yeah, because that was a good video.
It
They-
is.
Yeah,
they
I'd
is a good
recommend
video.
checking
they
it out. It was
explained
good.
it.
And then one last thing about this scene too is that like back to the whole like okay, so you know he's playing this role of like what he really wants to be doing is the whole animal thing, which we see here.
Right.
And then also what he's actually really doing most of the time is his like whole spy thing. And what I think is interesting is the first movie makes it so that he uses his strengths with the animals to like get stuff done, whereas here in this movie he doesn't so much.
I mean, they applied, but they didn't do as much.
They applied, but I think it could have been done more. And it just felt like you're seeing this, and it's awesome, and it's wonderful, and you're like, all right, can't wait to see how this plays in, and then you never get that
Yeah.
delivery.
But
Yet.
always remember
Yeah.
that this is not the end. This
Yeah,
is,
no,
There's
this
three
is
more movies.
This is a
Right.
transition film. This is
And
definitely a
It's
transition.
a
And-
good transition film. I do think
Yeah.
the pacing was a little bit off, though.
Yeah,
Which-
I mean, I
the-
watched it a second time this weekend, and it was definitely, it felt, the first time I saw it after watching it, I was like, that went a bit slow at times and really fast at others, but I watched it again, it felt a bit more balanced the second
Right.
time.
I think one of the things I also like about this scene before I move to our next clip is I also like the nature landscapes because pretty much the I think like 98% of this is set in cities.
Yeah, which I do
and,
like.
and we love, you know, like one of the beautiful things about like Hogwarts is the beautiful scenery
The
and the
sprawling,
train going
yeah.
across Scotland and
I
everything.
love
Right.
having Hogwarts
And,
back in it.
You know, and I like the Hogwarts, but that's like the only time we got this kind of beautiful nature scene.
Right,
And
but
I
I do
like
also-
that we get some nice nature.
Yeah,
I also do
beautiful
like the city
scenery.
feel though, because that brings back in that more urban, modern versus the new, like the Harry Potter,
Yeah.
which is more taken in.
Kind of secluded area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you're right. The scenery there is like really cool to see.
Gorgeous. It's gorgeous. And when he comes out of the water with all the
Yeah, and then when you
cameras,
see it, when it
Yeah.
pans out and you see all those columns in the back coming up, that we're like, oh, it's so awesome.
It was really well done.
yeah.
Okay,
Okay, I
beautiful.
think that's time for next scene.
Next, what else we got?
Let's see.
Oh, these guys.
Oh, oh boy, I have a lot of comments here.
Get over here, you maniac!
We hope you don't mind. We let ourselves in.
I love that guy.
Raining out
He's
there.
Like when I
really
first
good character.
saw the
London's
first movie, I'm
cold.
like, why
You were
is he
supposed to
in
have been
this?
obliviated.
But like he's really grown on me. And
Yeah.
I really
Oh, yeah.
like him.
He's a
Queenie annoys me.
The potion
But you
only
know,
raises
we'll
bad
get to
memories.
that.
Yeah.
I didn't have
Well,
any. I mean,
just didn't
don't get me
like
wrong, I
it
had
in
some
the first
weird
one.
ones and I
Queen
had
was
some
fine in the
scary
first
ones,
I didn't
but
mind, but anyway, we'll
this
get
angel,
there. We'll get there.
I think
irritating.
part
this
of it
angel
might
over
be the
here,
voice.
she filled me
She has
in on
this
all the
high
bad parts,
nasally
and
voice, and
here
I
we
don't
are
know
again.
why.
It's just a bit irritating.
this is wonderful.
There's a lot of factors that contribute to like
But
the
she
way I
definitely
feel about
plays the role
Is-
well.
Yeah, she does.
Tina?
And you can see this whole scene. Newt knows what's going on. I think instantly.
Oh yeah.
Newt's like
It's just us.
he's a
Especially from
really
that.
smart guy, and he's just instantly onto it. He's like,
And the poor
Is-
guy, he's looking for Tina.
Why
and
don't I
she's
make
just
us some
not-
dinner?
yeah, and
huh?
she's just
Yes.
And that must have been so uncomfortable for them. They're just like,
I thought that was a
No,
really
she's not here.
interesting twist in this movie to
Tina
kind of
and I
like
are
create
talking.
this tension between those two.
Right.
You know, because
Oh, well,
movies
you know,
really
she
want to
found out about
have
Jacob
that
and I
kind of
seeing each other and
love
she didn't like
tension.
it. 'Cause of the
And so, how
law.
do you create tension
allowed to- whoop.
between these characters in
Not
movie
allowed
two,
to date
knowing that
no
you're going to
matches.
have
Not
3 more
allowed to marry
movies to
them
develop
for
these
Right.
tensions? And
she
so,
was
how do you
cool
create
and
distance
teasing
between
him
these two
away 'cause of
characters
you.
when, at the end of the first one,
Yeah,
they
you.
they seemed very
It was in
enamored of
Spellbound.
each other, and now you want to pull that
I
apart
brought
somehow.
Theo.
How do you do that?
without like ruining it for the next 3 films. Yeah.
And I love that, like,
Luke's
very simple,
Amanda with
easy way to do this.
fiancé
This kind of
Lena
jumping to
Strange.
conclusions,
Brother
because
Theseus
that
and
happens
unknown woman.
all the time in life, right?
No, so Theseus is
Right.
marrying Lita, not me.
But that was
There it
also
is.
brilliant that Lita was in the first one,
Oh.
Yeah.
and just kind of this little side, little like, there's a
Right.
picture of her.
And then she's
Right.
here and now poof.
One thing I want to
Yeah.
mention
Now
about
she's
this
not.
scene
And,
specifically is
She started
the
dating
way-
someone else.
because this whole scene it's
He's an
confusing when
Aura.
you're
His
first
name's
watching. Like,
Achilles
wait, what's
Tolliver.
going on? And they do this whole thing with the camera angles. They go from we saw before just a moment before they go from Kowalski's perspective, and you see that blurry
Anyway,
thing. It's like what's going on, and
We
you
are
see
really
like
excited to be
they do
here,
like
Newt. This is a
one shot where it's
It's a
literally just
special
showing
trip
his
for us.
face and the way he's looking around, and like
He
you
has
can tell
no
there's
idea.
something
Tell
off.
that
Oh yeah.
And the
he's
way they
not
shoot it
actually
is
there.
brilliant, I think. The way
Yeah,
they
And the acting is good there too.
It is.
He
You
does a
can
great job.
definitely tell what's going on.
And I love his
I love
reaction.
that.
He's like, what?
I love it.
You've
And
enchanted
like
me,
what,
haven't you?
like just like the facial reactions
What?
there, just like
Yeah.
this, like they just have these great
What?
faces. They
Will you
do
stop reading
like the
my
acting. I think is really
Queenie,
good.
you've brought him here again to grow.
I do
And
like
like,
how
look at him.
he
He's-
did read
He's
his
got
mind,
this
though.
like, oh,
Yeah.
what am I gonna do with these two?
Yeah.
Really?
You won't mind if I
I do like how she can read his mind though.
Queenie, you've got
Yeah.
nothing
'Cause they
to
don't
fear
have
if
to
he
have
wants to
that
get
true
married. He
talking
can just
dialogue.
lift the
It shows
enchantment
something
and
more.
he can tell us
If
himself.
you were her girlfriend, that would like absolutely suck.
Oh yeah.
Because you would literally never be able to do anything because she'd know everything you ever did.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be
Always.
What you
Yeah, here we
got
go.
there?
Now we're getting the reveal.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do with that, Mrs. Commander?
Surgeon.
I always love the magic, the kind of the how
vision.
magic always looks kind of
Yeah.
like fiery.
Yeah.
Right.
They just
Congratulations
It
on
has
your
this
engagement.
really
Yeah.
natural, organic
What?
look. That's
It
really
does.
cool. All right, so
Yeah.
there we have
Yeah.
it.
I mean, it definitely wasn't like. It was definitely a scene that is important to the story, but
Right.
that scene
Well-
to me is just like.
And
I
one
personally
thing-
like the ones involving the creatures and the magic
Yeah.
more. So, although it does have some magic, it's just not one of my favorite.
Well, one thing that's important about this scene too is it kind of sets up, and I personally believe that Queenie's turn later in this movie is a little rushed. But what this scene does is it sets up that willingness to kind of stretch morality for other
Right.
things. Because obviously, you know, forcing somebody into wanting to marry you is not necessarily a moral thing to do.
Queenie is one of those people that wants to belong to something, and she
I can
like
see that.
feels the need to belong to something, and that's why I think she turns so quickly.
I feel like she just. Grindelwald is manipulating her very, very well by
Absolutely.
saying exactly what she wants. And if someone tells you that they want exactly what you want and they have power and stuff, why aren't you going to do it if it's going to get you everything you want?
Right.
Well, I think this scene really does set that up nicely, that turn, because we get to see all of her conflicts and motivations real early on. She's madly in love with this guy, but the
Right.
society is against her loving him, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So she wants to do something to make that okay.
Right.
You know, she wants to make change so she can openly be in love with this man and marry him and have kids with him and do the whole, you know,
Thing.
family thing, right? But she can't. And so when Grindelwald gives her this opportunity to try to make that change, to make it so it is okay, she kind of jumps at it
Right.
because she doesn't see any other way to do
And
it.
obviously
Newt doesn't give her any options,
Right.
right? He kind of like almost slaps her in the face and says, "No, that's wrong. You can't do that."
Well, her intentions are good, but her methods aren't necessarily good, which is what we see here in the again, that willingness to kind of stretch morality for something that is a problem, and that, like, her intentions are inherently good, I think, but just the things she's willing to do to get what she wants is
It's a little bit
set up here. It's pushed
Yeah.
beyond, And I mean, what you're talking with Grindelwald is like wizard domination over Muggles, essentially, which I don't think is exactly what she wants, but she is, willing to take that step.
Right.
If it gets her to her goals and alleviates her conflicts, she will do
Right,
that.
right.
Because that's how strongly she's in love with him.
Yeah.
Queenie and what's his name?
Jacob.
Yeah, Queenie and Jacob remind me of like
Yeah.
that 1950s perfect family white picket fence type. That's what they want, but they don't get it.
Right.
And they're in the 20s.
That too.
They're looking for the atomic family,
Right.
Even though
But they
that
don't
wasn't
get
a
it.
thing yet.
Yeah.
Right.
But she wants that, and she can't have it. And I think that Jacob is really interesting because he's madly in love with her too.
But he has the
doesn't-
self-control.
And he doesn't
like-
want
yeah,
her in
right.
jail.
Right. He's protecting her, but at the same time,
she's
wants
getting
her.
really
he's
mad
putting her
at-
in danger by.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of a tough situation for him all around.
Absolutely.
For sure. Like, because his intentions are entirely good, but
Right.
like it's
And
just,
what
it's an interesting dynamic to see, like, well, like how far should you go in order to, like, get this to work?
But the thing is, she can see his thoughts, so that means that she could see that he wants what's best for her, and he doesn't even really need to say anything. She should be able to understand, yes, he wants to marry her, but he doesn't want her in jail, because that's just, like, you don't want.
Either that or he's just really good at
Your wife in
hiding
jail.
stuff.
But then again, if she knows what he's thinking, she knows his fears, she knows why he's saying no, but yet that's still contrary to what she really wants.
Right,
you
maybe she
know?
thinks that it's not enough reason not to.
Right.
Or something like that.
She's willing to take the risk, but he's not willing
He's
to
not
put
willing to
her
put
in
her
risk.
in.
Right.
And that's a great, awesome conflict, because as people, we can all kind of feel that. We want
can
to
all
make sure
relate
the
to it,
people we
too.
love
Right.
are safe. And he doesn't feel like this is a safe move. She doesn't care. But then, always, like, you can always think about, like, what if she does end up in jail because she marries him?
Well, and here's the tension that you were talking about in the relationships.
Right.
You gotta have
Not
that
only with
tension,
Tina and
yeah.
Newt, but also
Yeah.
you see it with Queenie.
Yep.
And it's not necessarily tension, like, in their actual relationship, but just tension about, like, how they want to go about
Right.
things, which is really well done, I think.
I think leaving off on tension, I think we should go to the next scene.
Oh, okay.
Let's do it.
Thank you. Oh, we jumped way to the end here, huh?
Oh, yes.
Is that's not that Devil's Fire, right? That's...
It's not
No,
Fiend's
it's not
Fire,
Fiend's
it's something
Fire,
different.
it's a different one.
It seems more powerful than Fiend Fire.
They said in the screenplay what it's called, but I can't remember. I feel like it was somehow some
This
sort.
guy's a weird character.
Who's that?
He's the dude, when he was in the meeting with his followers in that room, he was, like, questioning his loyalty.
Right, and that's what I think this fire does. Is it gets rid of all of his
Right, all of
followers that
his
aren't
loyal.
true to him.
But it's just, he's an interesting character that they put in.
The skull hookah.
And I wonder why.
That I thought was really weird.
That was a weird one. That was a very Johnny Depp, like,
Yeah.
I never really was in love with the casting of Johnny Depp for this role, but I will admit he did a good job in this film, and there were a good portion of times where I forgot that it was Johnny Depp, right?
Right.
But with the skull hookah, I was like, this is Johnny Depp, and I can't think of
That
anybody
and his
else.
two different colored eyes just sounds so much like Johnny
Who knows
Depp to me
where
that
you
it's
were
like
born, not who you are.
How is it that Newt can stop the fire, but literally everyone else just dies, and they're all like literal horrors, and it's just like just
Go away,
Yeah.
fire!
I mean, we do see that Newt is a really powerful wizard. Okay, here we go. Hold on. Let's see.
Dick. He's the
here's that tension part that I kind of wanted to end at.
No, 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 no.
Yeah.
I like how he walks
So
slowly.
creepy.
He is.
That
this
adds to his
guy plays
character.
him so well.
It
And
does.
like the actual
So
actor,
creepy.
he's nothing like that. He's
Not at all.
super
He's the
talkative.
Flash.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And he's so goofy as the
Right.
Flash, and here he's just so.
He's such a good
broody
actor
and
though, because he can
angsty.
go
He looks
from
almost
like
like he's dead. A
Yeah.
lot of the time, like.
Like this, I think she's a great actress. I mean, look
Yeah,
at
They
her
do
yeah.
a good job.
frustration there. Like,
this is that point where I brought up earlier. She needs to belong to something, whether it's
Yeah.
loving or it's.
and then
Oh,
she starts screaming there, and you're like, oh, she's not gonna make it. And then like,
Yeah.
She makes it.
and she makes her choice, and
Oh, man. And then you can see Jacob. Oh man, he's just devastated. It's like painful to watch.
Right.
It was a really cool scene, and that how he's like
So
making the
conducting.
fire.
yeah.
Yeah, his motions and everything are really
This I hate that.
Did he get them while they were
Yeah,
disapparating?
I don't
You
like
can't
that.
do that. Apparating is not flying away. It's
Disappear.
and you're gone.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
gone.
yeah,
You
yeah.
can't just like.
That's a
hit
movie
that.
thing. The apparating with the clouds, that's a movie only thing. That's not in the books, and that's why I don't like that part.
And it annoys me because this we have to we want to consider it canon, but when they do stuff like that, it just
Right.
makes it not possible.
I love the brother.
Yeah.
I want to see more of him.
Theseus, yeah.
Like
Yeah,
that
he's-
relationship, I think they really.
It's like a
need to
love-hate
build up.
relationship. It's like every brother in Brother ever.
Yeah, it's. I'm
Definitely an
really looking
interesting
forward
dynamic.
to more of that.
Yeah.
The fire, like how it's just kind of like branching out and trying to get people. Is just. I feel like it was
The
really cool
fire
and
feels
really well
alive.
Yeah.
The way they animated
Yeah.
it.
Well,
is
it is
awesome.
after we see the dragon out. And
Well, yeah,
that's
but
gonna
like
be
the
his
I'm just
splash.
saying like the way they did it
Right.
on screen.
And I did like how he was conducting it, telling like where to go, but
Yeah.
like in his own way, he was like do whatever he wanted.
Right.
And I did like that a lot.
Almost has like a mind of its own at the
Yeah.
same time.
That's why I thought it was that fiend fire kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Well, it almost is, but there's something. It's something else. Exactly. I can't remember precisely what it is.
Like, look at it. Like, there's so much like heartbreak and romantic
Right.
tension.
We just did not know what was going to happen here, and then
Yeah, and then
it's just
this
a brief
happened.
moment.
I think it's interesting though that the fire does like all of a sudden the fire's like, nope, I'm not going to attack these guys
See, who
anymore.
was she just talking to when she said "I love you"? It
She was saying
showed
that's
dude,
both of them.
and then it was her, and then it was
Skull is
Theseus
in the
and.
book,
That was just really
Oh, you see
cool, the
Theseus
whole,
trying so
like
hard.
tornado of fire.
Newt's almost like given up.
Well, I mean, he kind of has because he accepts her fate.
Did
his
he
hair.
just give a killing curse without?
No, that was he was using the fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. He can do so much nonverbal magic. If you look at the first one, the first scene where he's escaping, he does everything
I
with
like
his
that.
tongue cut out. Like all that
Yeah.
powerful magic. It's insane. Everything he does is nonverbal pretty much. It's crazy.
Yeah, and he's just such a powerful wizard. Makes me
Well,
think that
His tongue isn't cut out. It was, but then
he grew
well,
back.
I think it was
that,
at the time.
That first scene, we don't know
It's
who was
confusing.
actually in that jail. Like to this day, we still have no
I
clue.
found
which
that
one
really
of it was.
confusing.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So it was.
It's
very
like a Now You
confusing
See
to
Me
watch.
type movie.
So
Anyway, this scene, yeah, the emotion is there for sure. Like there's so
Yeah.
much build up, and
It's
the
so
music,
much
the
tension,
music as
that's-
well helps that along.
Oh yeah.
That's
Which
why
is
I
really
like the
cool.
scenes that we have picked out for back to back. Is like there's tension that continues across them,
Right.
which shows that it continues across from the movie because you have beginning to end.
And there's so many
It's, like,
things that come
perfect.
to a head here. I mean, you have Queenie, who's been developing throughout the movie, Queenie and Jacob. Then you have Newt and Tina are finally together. Then there's Lita and Theseus and Newt and Theseus. And all of these like relationships that have been being built up throughout the movie are like coming to a head here, and like
Yeah.
you know what comes of them in this film.
Well, it's kind of interesting that the relationships that start together end up split, and
Right.
the ones that are split seem to be coming together. So the two
Right.
brothers who were at odds at the beginning
Come
now seem to
together.
be together. You know, I made my choice, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know
I'm
if
gonna
that's
stick
what
with
he said.
family
He did
over.
say that.
Right, and but then the Queenie and Jacob relationship is wrenched apart in
But I
a
think it's gonna
heartbreaking
come
sort
back
of way,
together though
Oh, yeah.
harder.
Well, it's
That it was
wrenched
wrenched
apart because they want to keep it together.
Yeah.
which is crazy,
Right.
right? Like
Kind of like the
anguish
Anakin
in her
Padme
face.
thing. I
Yeah.
mean, when you think
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely some really cool stuff developmentally that they
Yeah.
did in this film.
It is.
And I really, like, I can't say it enough how much I liked that last scene with all the fire and stuff. It was just
Yeah.
really well done,
It
and
was
it was
epic
really
to watch.
enjoyable.
Like,
really good.
And
It
beyond
is.
like actually movie analysis, like it was entertaining in the theater.
and then you
was
look back and
really
you see
good.
how many people died.
Yeah.
It was
A
like,
lot.
jeez.
I loved the scene just previous to that where
Would-
Grindelwald was talking to everybody.
Yeah.
To hear how he went about his points and everything, and then he showed like World War II, like that was crazy. I did not expect them to tie that in, but it was
No.
awesome.
His
I did-
dialogue is really good.
It is.
Yeah,
He's such a well-written character.
He is.
definitely.
That's one part that I would love to see from Harry Potter is like how do the wizards in witches, how do they fit into the Muggle history? So like World War II.
That's true.
right?
I want to do stuff. I want to find
I
out
wanna
stuff
see
like
more
that.
of that.
Same
What
with
we
witch
have
trials.
in
I would
background
love,
knowledge.
yes, exactly. I would love to see more of how this Harry Potter universe ties into the universe
Yeah.
that we know.
The connection.
So
Actions.
J.K.
And that's what
Rowling,
this film is doing.
don't make any more about Harry's story or his children's story.
Bring
Make
it back.
something about history, like
Right.
maybe the
Right.
founders or all these other events in the past.
That would be
Yeah, a movie about
fantastic.
Yeah.
the founders of Hogwarts.
That would be
so
so
sick.
cool.
That would be really
Very
cool.
What we see,
See them
like
building it?
background-wise, in is that Theseus. So like, there's this in terms of World War I, right, which is more like the period where the first movie was starting. A lot of the wizards didn't want to get involved. They were like, "This is the Muggles' war. This isn't our business. It's
Right.
not our problem. It's horrible." That's
Kind of reminds
leaving
me
it
of
to them.
Wonder Woman.
Theseus,
almost.
Yeah.
the entire what Theseus was doing while Newt was in New York was kind of at the forefront of trying to convince the wizarding community to get involved and to help the Muggles out
Right.
in terms of like fighting
Well, Newt
against.
did say that he was using dragons on one of the fronts.
I
or
think he did
something.
say that.
So
yeah,
they
So you
were
get some,
fighting
like-
in it, but
we get some
just-
background of it.
Right.
Maybe like
Right.
a flashback or two.
Yeah,
That
like
would-
seeing some actual things because like that's all that stuff that came out in writing like post movie.
Yeah.
I would love to see more of that stuff. Like
Yeah.
Salem witch trials.
That
like
would
you
be
can't
cool.
tell me that doesn't have J.K. Rowling hasn't
Yeah.
thought about that at
Well,
some
you
point
get a
in
hint
time.
at it in
We do
the
in-
witch burnings. There's this scene in Prisoner of Azkaban when he's doing his homework, and it says something about like how wizards and witches dealt with like witch burnings and witch hunts and stuff. But
and
it's
they
not
just used
super.
they just used the
It's
spell
very
that made it
brief.
tickle.
Yeah, it's
instead,
very
So
brief.
one of them let themselves get caught. I don't know, like 500 times.
Wendell
or
in the
something.
Weird or something.
Yeah, and because they just liked it so much, and they just kept getting like burned alive, but they were just using that charm to make it so they didn't actually burn.
But can they do that without a wand? Because I can't imagine they would tie them up without a wand.
They probably had a wand hidden on them.
I mean,
Or
maybe.
they
probably
maybe
never-
did it
Or they maybe
beforehand.
because you see that Dumbledore has some potential of using.
Because
magic
they
without
have said that
wands.
non-wand magic is
It's
possible. It's
possible.
just very difficult.
There's
and
a
less
school in
powerful.
Uganda in Africa that like specializes in that, a wizarding school. It says it on Pottermore. Kind of interesting.
That's cool.
We're very off topic.
Do we have another clip
All right,
Okay,
let's roll
let's do it.
before we run out of time?
Oh, here's a good
Oh,
clip.
this is the.
Oh,
the
this is the one
beginning.
we're talking
Yeah.
about. Yeah, here it is. Oh man, this one's a hard one.
It was a really
It
cool
is.
scene, but it was just really confusing.
Yeah.
I feel like this scene was made just for a 3D movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. There can't have been a ton of thought put into making it comprehensive.
Well, see, what we don't know is that
Is that
actually him
Abernathy
or is it?
is that Grindelwald?
And if it's Grindelwald, then why did he go back to get Abernathy? He wouldn't like risk everything for just one of his followers, who's
No,
just
it's probably for
just
the-
But
became
he has
for the
that.
blood.
But the thing is, if
Oh,
that's
that's true.
if that's Abernathy,
Well, he
if
just
that's
handed it
Grindelwald
over.
as Abernathy outside of it, he handed it over previously.
He
He,
could've just
said
run
we
with it."
had that, we got this from him, and gives it to them.
True.
So why would he do that? Like these things don't really make sense.
I
It was
thought
really cool and well done, but it was just confusing.
visually it was really interesting,
Yeah,
Yeah.
visually.
but
I'd like to know more about the magic behind
Yes.
this, because this isn't Polyjuice Potion.
No.
No.
This
Well, it-
can't be
It could
That's a
be, but
spell.
it's just very
this can't be
Unlikely.
Metamorphagus. Isn't that what Tonks is?
metamorphagus.
So
it's
right
both of
now, Grindelwald has the
Elder Wand.
The Elder Wand.
And this is definitely Grindelwald because Abernathy is. There's no way he's doing this magic.
No. And especially
Right.
using the
So we
beast.
know it's Grindelwald now, but how long was he Grindelwald for?
Right. That
Right.
scene is cool. I love that
But
when
how
they're
does
like
he do
walking.
that?
Just like it's insane.
It's
That magic.
Oh, I do love how he
Fire
kind of
out.
sticks his head in the back window.
That's like a Johnny Depp. That's like a Johnny Depp move.
This creature.
Hello, Bobbit. Oh,
That
was
just
a Johnny
made me-
Depp, but-
See, they did do a good job at making us hate Grindelwald, I mean, like, apart from just killing all these people, like, with the whole thing about that creature that we probably will see at the end of this scene, where he just takes it and he's like so needy and he just throws it out the door. It's totally.
Grindelwald, I think, is a much more
okay.
well-developed and like interesting villain than.
Oh, he
Voldemort.
definitely is, because
yeah.
Voldemort was just like, I just want to take over.
Yeah, Voldemort is just like bad all the way. I think the best villains. Grindelwald, somewhat like Thanos, almost has a point. You know.
Right.
Right.
Why should wizards have to hide?
Right.
Why
They were
can't
saying-
we be out in the open?
In those special features that I was talking about, that it said that when they were doing the scene where they had all the extras in that giant like area where he's talking at the end, that when they were talking, like afterwards, they were like, yeah, we can see where he's coming from, and people were like, whoa, people are actually like siding with him. They actually understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
And that's the secret to a good bad guy, is if you
For
can
sure.
make that bad guy relatable and understandable.
awesome.
Right.
Like Thanos, we understand, we
Right.
get that. Overpopulation is problematic, but you can't just
Who plays that
kill
in that thing?
people to do that, right? The methods are wrong.
Yeah.
The
Similar to
concepts are
Queenie,
good
the
ideas.
morality is not really there, but the actual
Right.
idea.
No. I know.
And you know,
And he's
there's
so
a
nice
lot
to
of
it, and then it's just all nice, and he just like, meh.
So needy.
I know, and he just kills him. Just meh, it's dead. This was really.
It is.
It was cool how he's doing it. Like he wants someone to go tell the tale of what happened.
Did he just drop his bomb?
Yeah, he dropped his wand with him.
Yes. Not the elder one, but
Oh, different one?
No different.
it's this guy's
This guy's
wand.
wand. So that he could save himself.
Just so that
Yeah.
he's making it seem as though he survived unintentionally and that he had meant for him to die, when really he actually wanted him to go and be like,
You
he
don't think
just
he
did
figured
this.
it out?
He probably
know.
figured that
He
out.
probably figured it out, but I'm not sure.
He looks smart enough to figure it out.
At that moment when you're falling from way up there, are you
Right.
really going to be thinking, did he mean for me to survive this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which implies a whole level of intelligence on Grindelwald's part. I mean, the fact that he was able to stage
A
all of
death.
this, and
But
that
then-
he's thinking like, I want somebody to survive this.
Yeah.
Right. He wants people to know the
You
crimes
know.
of Grindelwald.
Like, I think that he's a really
Casual
fascinating
title plug.
He's building his infamy up, so
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
everyone
So he can
knows his
gain
name.
reputation. It's like a gangster or a mobster
He's
gaining
so-
reputation on the streets.
He's so cool under pressure as well. Like,
Yeah.
He's so casual about everything he does, and like the way that the actor does it is he just like. He seems like he's not even trying. He's just like
Yeah.
effortless. I'm going to do all this stuff, and it's
Right.
gonna
I mean,
look
it is Johnny Depp. Though. He
incredible.
does have certain talents.
Yeah.
Like being funny in Pirates of the Caribbean, that's one of them.
Right.
Being serious in this movie, that's another one.
He does that kind of laid back sort of thing very well.
Yeah.
You know,
And you
just
can
kinda
definitely
this-
see the comparisons between him and Dumbledore power-wise.
Oh, yeah.
Where,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Dumbledore was able to summon all that fire in the sixth one when he's fighting off the, all the dead things in the, forgetting their name. right now.
Inferi.
Yeah, the Inferi.
That's one thing that we didn't see in any clips. Jude Law's performance as Dumbledore. I didn't know how to feel about Jude Law as Dumbledore, but man, he
was a
knocked
good
it out of the
job.
park.
It
in
was
my
good.
opinion. Like was undeniably Dumbledore.
And
Yeah.
we'll see more in the next movies.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
for sure.
there's so much potential to do some really cool things with this movie, with the series. And I think Jude Law will be playing a much bigger role, and I'm
Right,
excited
for
to
sure.
see that. Like Dumbledore to me was always kind of a mystery. Like I didn't really
Yeah,
always,
definitely
even
like an
right up to
enigma
the
of
very
sorts.
end, I didn't really understand
Yeah.
Dumbledore.
He was kind of like a mysterious character that they wanted to have a backstory, but they never did in the movie.
Well,
Yeah.
so now we're getting that.
Yeah.
Got 3
Right.
more movies to go.
Yeah.
One thing that bothered me was when they apparated into Hogwarts to talk to
Well,
Dumbledore.
my thing with that is I assume they just didn't put on those
But why
barriers
wouldn't they
yet.
at school? This is an ancient school, and there have always been threats to wizard kind, so there's no reason that they
I don't know.
shouldn't have that.
I feel like it was something Dumbledore
Didn't
added when
they
he was
operate onto
headmaster.
the
They
the
did.
bridge?
Which
yeah,
you
right
wouldn't
there.
be able
Which you
to
wouldn't be
do.
able to do.
Oh, okay.
You wouldn't be able to even. There's this one thing too, with Kowalski there, Jacob. Muggles aren't supposed to be able to see Hogwarts as anything besides an old ruin. They have it set up so that when Muggles come across it, if they do, it's not like a thing. So one of the things that has been talked about elsewhere is like when he's looking around like so confused looking, is it like because it's so incredible, or is it because what he's seeing is like
Where am am I?
Yeah, like,
Why
that
are you
doesn't-
taking me to this ruined place?
Yeah, I don't know if it necessarily matters per se, but it's just an interesting thing to think about, like, if they're paying attention to those small details
Right.
or not.
It could also be that, because he's with them, maybe there's
Maybe,
kind of
yeah.
some kind of...
Right.
I don't know.
Newt might have done something to make him be able to see it.
Yeah.
Sure. But we'll just have to wait for the next ones.
Yeah.
That's all the time we have.
Yeah.
So
Time's
thanks
up.
for watching.
Thank you.
All right.
See you next
Thanks.
time,
See you next time.
whenever we release the next video.